It's not my process. I couldn't do that. The horror stories that I've heard, John, over the years are crazy. Like, oh yeah, I went through a recruiter and I never heard back of what happened. I never heard from them again after the interview. So we make it a point, and I branded us this way in 2008 and even now more so, where I think 70% of the recruiting industry is just our resume slingers. In 2008, the world was financially ending. We started the Roman healthcare group in 2008 because there was a shortage of nurses, and I knew if you were a nurse, you can get a job. So you could always get a job if you're a nurse, even now. There's like a lack of 400,000 engineers in the United States every year positions that don't get filled. Healthcare is weary right now. COVID wore them out. It kicked them. It knocked their legs out. I want to tell their story. I want to say, why is this place exciting? What's going on there? What's the DNA? What's the day-to-day? And why are they doing what they do? So that's who Greg is. I love helping people. I love building people. I love nurturing people and doing fun things.
Welcome to the New World Podcast, where we delve into the ever-changing and accelerating pace of global change and its impact on our lives. I'm your host, John Paul Flores, broadcasting live from the New World Studio. Today, we're diving into the world of AI and automation. As an enthusiast and expert in lead generation, I will guide you through understanding and leveraging these technologies for your business and for your personal use. And don't forget, AI and automation might be unstoppable forces, but that doesn't mean you are powerless. Tune in to learn how to make them work for you and not the other way around. But first, let's meet our guest. Welcome to the New World Podcast, where we navigate the changing world around us. I'm your host, Jampo Flores, specializing in lead generation and AI automation, here to help you understand how our world is changing and what it means for you. This episode, we sit down with Greg Romano, one of the most energetic people you'll ever meet, President and CEO of the Primo Group, a leader in talent acquisition for the aerospace and defense industries. With a background shaped by military service, Greg brings a unique perspective to executive recruitment, emphasizing on the importance of aligning talent with organizational values. Greg, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, John, it's a pleasure to be invited. Thank you so much. We're having fun. It's good. It's good stuff.
By the way, before we begin in the in-depth questions, I just want to ask, can you give us a quick intro on who Greg is, what's your expertise, experiences, and what keeps you busy these days?
Greg is a very passionate and dedicated and driven individual. I have certain value systems and certain ways I like things to be done because I care about people. I care about the way people are treated, and I think we have the opportunity in the roles that we play to impact that and impact people's careers. And it's fun to see people get excited about their careers and help them grow. So that's who Greg is. I love helping people. I love building people. I love nurturing people and doing fun things.
Before I joined this recording, I was actually kind of in a slump. I'm not very energetic, but when you joined in, I know that I gotta step it up.
Thank you.
By the way, before you were in the Primo Group, you had a different company back then for 15 years, the Primo Healthcare Group. Can you talk more about that?
Well, yeah, I've been recruiting since 1994, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we started the Roman healthcare group in 2008. And yeah, I started that company because I wanted to be different. I had seen what recruiters, the average recruiter, how they treat candidates. The horror stories that I've heard, John, over the years are crazy. Like, oh yeah, I went through a recruiter and I never heard back of what happened. I never heard from them again after the interview. Like, what? So we make it a point, and I branded us this way in 2008 and even now more so, where hey, we want to talk to our people. We want to talk to our candidates and our clients. We want to collaborate together because we know that's the best way to have a solution, to solve the problem is by communicating and working together and collaborating. So yeah, that's what's important to me, and that's why I started Roman.
Yeah, so most of the time, the recruiters back then just didn't care anything about the people that they're recruiting.
I think 70% of the
Yeah,
recruiting industry is just this, are resume slingers. Not to talk bad about them. That's a way to make money.
yeah,
It's their process, and that's
yeah,
fine. It's not my process. I couldn't do that. I'm very interpersonal, very relationship driven, very much built on integrity, on valuing people, valuing. I think everybody has value, and
yeah,
if we treat them that way and we encourage them,
yeah,
it's really cool to see how people rise to the top and shine, and
yeah.
it's fun. It's fun to do that.
It's amazing. And before you did the recruitment agency company, what did you do before, and why did you decide to start a recruitment company besides the other type of business?
Yeah. So I've done a lot of things in my life.
Yeah, yeah,
My father, who actually died young. He was a
yeah,
young man, 49. I was a
yeah,
16-year-old kid. He was the we would call him the Sausage King of New York. Uh, and I keep this business card because this was his company, and he taught me. I don't know if you see that at the Pork Company of
oh
Flushing, New
yeah,
York. He taught me so much. A quick story. It's really funny, and it's really like what sales is and what recruiting
yeah,
is. But obviously, we polish this up a little bit. But he always said, Greg, when you go in through the front door, they say we're not interested. Then
yeah,
the next day you go through the back door. Then the next day you go through the window, and then when you come through the chimney, they say, okay, we give up. We'll buy your product. And so that's kind of the persistence thing. We always say it takes 12 touches to get hold of a client, to build a relationship with them. And my father did it with such tact, and they really all loved him.
yeah,
And so when I went from the Roman healthcare group, Roman, that
yeah,
was named that way because for me, the book of the Bible, Roman, talks about the grace and mercy. And I'm not a perfect person. I've made some dumb mistakes in my life, and that's a great reminder for me. And I wanted to remember that. Primo, though, I switched it because it's in Italian. It's the highest of quality,
yeah,
and I believe that we should always be delivering high quality product, a high quality service to our
yeah,
candidate and our client. And that's who I am. And that was my dad. One of my dad's companies. One of them was Primo Meats.
yeah,
And so I thought, I'm going to name that in honor of my dad. And I think it's going to be great and quality. And I've always been around the quality arena in all my
yeah.
recruiting. So yeah, the Primo Group is based on the highest of quality. That's what we want people to pick up from that.
Yeah, the highest prime quality. That's amazing. You've been in the healthcare industry recruiting for them for 15 years. Not
Yeah,
a lot of people would just switch niche like that. Healthcare
yeah,
from aerospace industry is
yeah.
not a small leap. That's a wide
No,
gap. Why? Yeah, why did you choose to do
yeah.
that?
Well,
You have so much advantage right in the healthcare industry.
such a great question. I used to recruit in
Yeah,
engineering.
yeah,
I recruited in product development, research
yeah,
development, consumer packaged good chemicals, and I loved it.
yeah,
Had some great people I've placed over the years with some great companies and formulating incredible products, scientists and engineers. And when I started the Roman Healthcare Group, I was not planning on going into acute care recruitment. I was
yeah.
planning on going into medical device product
Oh,
development, research and development engineers. And it was
yeah,
2008 when I started the company. I don't know if you remember 2008, John. You're a young guy. I'm an old guy. In 2008, the world was financially ending, right? Everything was going upside down. And I started the company, and in the first few weeks, I had 6 or 7 job orders, search assignments. We had candidates interviewing going into January, and all of a sudden, I think it was January 15th. I remember the day. Everything fell off the board. Every interview we
man,
had froze.
that's tough.
Every company was like, oh, hiring a freeze, hiring a freeze. I'm like, oh my goodness. I had one guy working for me at the time. His name is Adam. And I looked over at Adam and I said, Adam, start recruiting nurses. He said, did you get a job order for a nurse? I said, no, but we're going to. And then I was recruiting for leadership positions in hospitals, and then I literally tripped. I tripped
Yeah,
over a specialty area that I knew nothing about at the time: infection prevention, healthcare quality, and patient safety. And it was
yeah,
we had a wonderful 15, 16-year run
yeah,
of having a lot of fun in that area and really helping patients have a healthier experience in their hospitals. Now, healthcare has gone through some tremendous changes over the last few years, and what you're seeing in healthcare is is the mergers and acquisitions. So you had, there's 5,000 acute care hospitals in the United States. Well, there was these systems of 5 hospitals and 3 hospitals and 10 hospitals, and all of a sudden, they're all becoming like 70 hospitals and 100 hospitals. A solo hospital can't survive because of the regulations they're up against now. It's very challenging financially, and I get it. But all of the um, mergers has it's really changed the hiring process, and it started not being fun anymore. I'll be very candid. I like to enjoy what I do. I like to talk to hiring managers and really get down and deep and understand their pain and understand their culture and understand what they need, because if you know those things, it really shortens the amount of time that it takes to fill that position. If you're throwing darts in the dark and you're taking guesses here and there, it's more of a challenge. And what I believe is that the talent representative, the hiring manager, and us, we need to work together, collaborate. Very few meetings. It's not like it goes on and on. But if you communicate and you have a process laid out, that thing can roll, and you can get to the right person much more quickly. So it was time to, the old saying, when you're not having fun anymore, do something differently. So I wasn't having fun, and I thought, I really want to get back to engineering. I love working with engineers, and talked to a couple of people, and I said, aerospace. And the difference in the industry is aerospace is growing. It's startup. It's innovation. It's fantastic, and it's there's a lot going on, and it's fun. And it's refreshing. I'm loving it right now.
Absolutely. In 2008, when you were seeing all this craziness happening, I was 3 years old.
You were 3. You should still remember that, John. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah. It was a nightmare. It was a crazy time, and by all means, Good thing you were 3. You didn't have to worry about it.
But why did you say that you're gonna need to hire nurses at that time?
Because there was a shortage of nurses, and I knew if you were a nurse, you can get a job. So you could always get a job if you're a nurse, even now. That's just like when I first started recruiting in 1994. The company I went to work for, they said, would you like to work in the poultry processing industry to recruit there, or furniture manufacturing? I said, poultry processing. And they all laughed at me. And they said, why? I said, because no matter what the economy does, people have to eat.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what my dad taught me. Another one of his things. And I had the most successful desk for every one of the 8 years I was at that company. It was fun. And again, I worked a lot with engineers, quality engineers, production engineers, mechanical engineers. So, I've always seemed to get into the engineering side and the regulatory side, because like the quality parts of things, because when it's regulated, whoever your industry is, they need those people, right? They have to have those people. Absolutely. So it's a great place to be.
It's interesting that many entrepreneurs or people who want to do a startup, they always try to do something that is something new, something exciting. But the problem is, most of the time, we don't need those. So if something happens to the economy, they're gone. You're not existing anymore. But as I said, those industries, quality industry, toilet paper, those kind of things.
We needed that a few years ago. There was a shortage of that.
They're not gonna crash. It's always gonna be a thing. If you're in the water processing things, if you need soft drinks, even soft drinks right now is most of the time essentials for people, and they're not gonna go away anytime soon. So if you're planning on doing something big in your life, or just something steady, go in those industries. You're not gonna be disrupted.
That's right.
Aerospace industry, as you said, is growing, and it's growing very fast. And there's a lot of deficit in jobs that needs to be filled. What is the most exciting part in the business, that, in your opinion?
Wow, it's electric.
Yeah.
It's electric. It's energetic. They're moving fast. They're needing to get things accomplished. It's people knowing that they have a common goal, and they're going to get it. And even competing companies all have a common goal, right? It's national security. It's whatever the case may be, world security, and it's just a fun place to be right now. And I think the number's like 400,000 engineers. There's like a lack of 400,000 engineers in the
Yeah.
United States every year, positions that don't get filled. And it's like, wow, right? That's how many things are coming out. And in other industries in the United States, engineers are getting laid off,
Yeah.
but there's just not enough in
Yeah.
defense and aerospace. They're doing some great things. It's
It's the
it's
new thing.
competitive. It's fun.
It's the new thing. It's
I mean,
the
look, we're,
future of
we're,
the
we're
ages.
sending
Yeah.
people over NASA just sent a
Yeah.
rocket to Jupiter a couple weeks ago. Right? I mean, the things that we're doing when I was a kid, you know,
Yeah. It's the new
it's
Silicon
crazy.
Valley.
It's crazy how quickly things are going. Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
and imagine that you don't have a problem on the one side of the business where a lot of companies don't want to recruit because they need these people. They need the engineers. That is going to be a 400 deficit and probably gonna be even more the next following year. And the
Oh yeah.
only problem that you have now is finding those engineers. But I think it's probably gonna be easier for you to do that instead of just finding clients to send these engineers to.
We are
Yeah,
the positions that we're already searching on. We have a process and a
yeah,
system that is just it's wonderful. Yeah, we're having fun. We're getting
yeah,
responses. People are not, they're not afraid to, hey, yeah, let's pick up and move. Let's go after it. So it's exciting times. There's no
yeah.
doubt it's exciting times, and it's fun to be part of it right now.
Do you see that there's any different from when you're hiring for the healthcare industry from now you're hiring the space industry? What's the difference is when you're in the
Yeah.
process? What's the
Well,
difference?
and I want to choose my words carefully, so I
Yeah,
hope people on both sides don't throw darts at me. But if we go to traditional,
yeah,
and nothing's traditional anymore. But the majority of nurses in the United States are what? Male or female? The majority are female, right? There are
yeah,
male nurses, a lot of them, and they're great. But and in engineering and aerospace and defense, the majority of engineers are men.
yeah,
So
yeah,
both of them have to get it balanced. But but for some reason, when you ask, and again, I've done this since
yeah,
'94, asking people, about 98% of the placements I've made since 1994 involve a relocation. So we're moving people all over the place. Well, we're not moving
yeah,
them, but we're convincing them and persuading them to move. So when you speak to a nurse, when you speak to and their significant other might have a certain type of career also, it's like
yeah,
it's harder to get them to pick up and move. It just really is.
yeah,
It seems like everybody in aerospace is, yeah, well, we'll go. So it's like, really? So it's refreshing. They're not afraid of it. They're not afraid of the challenge. And it's been, and I forgot, yeah, that's how it was
yeah,
before I got into healthcare. People are, yeah, let's go after it. No, they're not moving anywhere. And it's got to be good opportunities, of course. But there's people that are willing to
yeah,
take a challenge on.
yeah,
Healthcare is weary right now. COVID wore them out. It kicked them. It knocked their
yeah,
legs out. These individuals worked and worked and worked, and
yeah,
they're exhausted. So that's a lot of it too. It's the energy level just when you speak to
yeah,
the people in the industry is so different too. Yeah, and I
yeah.
feel sorry for
Yeah.
them in healthcare because they really got wore out.
Yeah, especially because most of the time, if you're a nurse, especially especially at these times, most of the time the words that you're associated with is safety, stability,
Yeah,
safe. But when you're on the engineering side of things, especially in the aerospace, it's a new industry. It's exciting.
yeah,
It's innovation. It's making
yeah,
something new, and I think that's why most people in that industry is more excited in what they do.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're 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 programmed to be innovative. They're
yeah,
programmed to try
absolutely.
different things. In healthcare, you don't want to be trying different things on
Yeah,
people's lives are at
you,
stake,
you
right?
don't.
So it's a little bit more of a slower movement there, or slower progress. But hey, what they do is invaluable. The people in
Absolutely.
healthcare need to be commended and thanked every day, because they really put it on the line, and I appreciate them very much. They're great people.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's in engineering and in an innovative industry, they're told to go and do something, and it's okay if you
yeah,
make a
absolutely. Yeah,
mistake. Right? It's okay if you make a mistake. Now it costs money, but it's okay, because that's how you learn, is by making mistakes. You can't
yeah.
make mistakes on a patient, right? You can't do that. It's just not going to work.
You're gonna get sued.
Yeah, we'll just they're expendable. No, they're
Yeah.
not. So
But that's good because you're not supposed to take risks on people's lives. Absolutely. And in terms of not the energy side of things, just on the general. Well, by the way, when it was COVID, when everything is going crazy, are you
Yeah.
still in the healthcare industry?
Say again. I'm sorry. I didn't understand the question, Joe.
When it was during COVID, are you still in the healthcare
Yeah.
industry, or did you found it? And what was it like? Because I think there's a lot of people who needs nurses and doctors at that time.
Yeah. So, boy, it was it was truly it was sad to watch happening
Yeah,
because you hear and you were speaking to candidates
yeah,
or individuals, not candidates, just anybody who at that point we had known for years, and you'd call them and check up on it, and you could hear it in their voice, the exhaustion, the concern
yeah,
for their patients, the the there's always been this fear, not always, but there's
yeah,
been this fear for many years about the superbug. That's that we take too many antibiotics, and there's going to be a superbug because we're not going to be able to combat whatever
yeah,
bacteria is going to come at us. And then all of a sudden, so their eyes were like focused on those types of things and emerging infections, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, right, boom, we've got this thing,
yeah,
and the problem was there was so much miscommunication of how it's transferred, on how do you protect yourself, on all sorts of things. And every single day, these people who we work with, the infection preventionists and healthcare quality professionals, they were standing up in front of their hospital or in the main operations center and having to change the guy every day. Oh no, do this. Oh no, do that. And it was so much pressure on them because they knew that their people, their patients, and their staff that worked for them, they were, their lives at that point were at stake. We remember we were washing cereal boxes, right? I
yeah,
mean, we didn't know. Wash the cereal boxes. Wash this. So nobody knew, and it was a scary time. But those folks just went in day after day. No,
yeah,
the folks that we were working with had no days off. They were working 7 days a week, every week of the year. I mean, they just kept going and going, and you could just hear it. And so getting hold of them was tough. And then when you
yeah,
got hold of them, you could just hear the exhaustion and the concern in their voice, and your heart would break for them. And it was sad. And then when COVID ended, when it
yeah,
started weaning down, we we noticed that we were getting a lot of
yeah,
emails that were bouncing back. We tabulated those. 40%, 40% of
yeah.
infection preventionists retired during that
Uh,
time frame. That's a lot of people. Yeah, because they were one, they were maybe close to retirement, whatever.
yeah,
I don't know, keep working. All of a sudden, when that hit, it wore them out so much. 40% of infection preventionists left retired. It
yeah.
was amazing. So yeah, such a vacuum. It was such a vacuum. But yeah,
Uh,
just and we did interim and perm,
yeah,
contract staffing and perm, and we used to have 8 or 9 or 10 people working at any given time for interim. And then all of a sudden during COVID, 25 or 30 people, because everybody was looking for somebody, and it
yeah,
also brought in a lot more recruiting firms. There was really only two big ones, us and another organization, Galileo Search, and then there was a couple of little folks. But then during COVID, everybody needed these people. So
yeah,
it was I think there's 25 firms that work it, and there's just not that many positions.
yeah,
And so what happened was, just to be candid, I like to work exclusive or retainers because it's a better process. It's a better process for the candidate and for the client to
yeah,
work it in a way that's organized. And all of a sudden you've got all these people. I'm not going to say the name of the hospital, but it was one day in June of that year, and I saw a director of infection prevention over their system posted just on my alerts, and I thought, well, I need to call them today. And they were excited that I called. It was about 11 o'clock. And hey, yeah, we're glad you called. We figured you would. We'd love for you to work with us. Now, we use this portal. And I'm not going to say what it's
yeah,
called, but go to the portal. And I knew what it was. I'm like, oh, but okay. I get there. The job is only open for 3 hours. Okay, and let that sit in for a second. And there were 22 candidates already presented in 19 recruiting firms. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? Are you telling me that each of those candidates have been vetted for that client? I said, I'm not playing. I'm not getting in that. I'm not getting in that sandbox. It was and I know the gentleman that got placed there. He was a candidate of mine, but it
Yeah,
didn't matter. I didn't want to drag all the candidates through that muck. I had 22 candidates for a position by 19 firms in 3 hours. It takes me more than 3 hours to vet a candidate. And that's why I don't like to play in that kind of box, because what we're providing for our client is we do skills assessments, we
yeah,
do culture assessment, we take our candidate through multiple stages to make sure that they are truly not only a good match for my client, but also they're very interested. They're not window shopping. So
yeah,
there's things that we have set in place to check those markers, and it's a process. And by the time you get to hey, they want a slate of 3 or 4 candidates, we know we can. When we do a search, literally, we can canvass the country. We can get 40,
yeah,
50 people. We can narrow that down to 10 or 15, in a day or two pretty quickly. And then through the assessments we do, here's the top 3 people in the country. That is a match for your position. That's not a
yeah,
hard thing to do with AI technology,
yeah,
our personal skills that we bring to the table and we've used for years. And it's about building trust with your candidate, because there's a lot of questions that people don't want to ask a potential candidate or a candidate for a position, because they're
yeah,
afraid of the answer, right? You don't want to ask them that because they may say no.
yeah,
You have to ask the question, number one, and number two, you have to be able to uh, build that trust so they give you the right answer. And because you're really, I mean, we're working for them and we work for the client and the candidate,
yeah,
right? We're
yeah,
kind of in a weird position. It kind of makes it fun, but in all candidness, I mean, I want to make sure they know that I am for them.
yeah.
And if they give me information that's not correct, I can't guarantee the best outcomes, right? You can only guarantee the best when you have all the information. So it makes it a lot of fun, and we feel very confidently when we're working a search and they work the process, that we say, hey, these are best practices. When a client will go along with us on that, and I know nobody likes to do that. They want to keep talent different than hiring managers now in a lot of places, but when you don't have that hiring manager in on those meetings, and I know they're busy, but it's 10, 15 minutes a week, maybe, or maybe 10 to 15 minutes every other week. It's not that much to get the right person. So how
Yeah.
much money is lost when you have the wrong person get hired, right? The
It's a
amount of
lot.
money and the amount of time is extreme. So it's not, it's an investment, but it's a good investment and it's worth it, so they can be part of that process. It's very important.
Is it often that candidates actually lie? Is that a rare occurrence, or is that something common in your industry?
Say again. I'm sorry.
Let's stay focused on healthcare, because that's where you have the most experience in. Is it often that people actually lie when you're talking with them? Your candidates.
Is it that they lie?
Is it often that they do?
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, we usually know it.
Oh,
Yeah,
how?
because it's just little nuances, and it's just ways that they don't know that we know, but we can tell. Yeah, this is the craziest story. And some individuals are really. I don't know why they do what they do. Years ago, like early 95, 96, we were working with major academic medical institution in the Dallas, Texas
Yeah,
area. And I was actually working with this through another recruiting firm. We were split partner. I couldn't break in to that company, that hospital at that time, because I was still very new. I ended up breaking in, but at that time I was not able to. And so he had the job order, and I found a candidate. We were kind of working together, and it was an emergency room director. It was before we found infection quality and patient safety, and she was an emergency room director. I'll keep this brief, but it's crazy. And she was in Houston, if I remember correctly, and. Bottom line is, we present her, they interviewed her, they liked her, they're gonna fly her in, and the day of the that she was supposed to fly in, the other recruiter, a great guy, his name is John, he calls me, he goes, Greg, where's so and so? I'm like, what do you mean? And he said right away, she's lying. She's not who she says she is. I said, whoa, how do you know this? He goes, because she didn't make the flight. I'm like, there's one of a million reasons why she could have missed that flight. Let's first find out why she missed the flight. And if you're right, you're right. But let's not throw her under the bus yet. Let's just first find out. But long story short, she was lying like crazy. The whole thing was a lie. He was right from the beginning. I don't know how he knew that. The intuition was amazing. But she set this whole thing up. I have no idea. And then she made believe she was in a car accident and couldn't make the flight, and she had to go to an emergency room. Well, she worked at a VA hospital. Okay. Well, I'm a veteran. I'm a combat veteran, and everything is DD form this. Okay. When we asked her for the slip from the hospital to give us the no, hey, they need that to in order to have some proof so they can get their money back from the plane ticket so they can reschedule. They need to give that to the airlines. And she said she had told me the hospital she went to for the emergency room, and she filled out herself on the Department of Defense form that's their emergency. I'm like, look at this. He's right. She's lying. Yeah. And it was like, why does somebody do that, John? Why? I mean, if she was lying and she wanted to go through the process to get the job, okay, there's a reason for that lie. Why would she start the lie and then fake a car accident and not show up and cover it up like she's really? I mean, it just didn't make sense. It's like, what are people thinking? Where do they come up with this stuff? I don't know how they come up with that stuff. But so people, they do lie, and the biggest place they lie is their salary. There's no doubt. Everybody, most people will inflate their salary. I shouldn't say most. That's a bad thing to say, because my candidates, they respect us and they know we love them, and we do. And so I apologize for that. They all don't do that, but many will inflate their numbers because they know if they're going to change companies, that's the time they're going to get that increase. And it's true. You're going to go at 3%, 4% year after year. But when you change, you can get that nice bump, and so they'll elevate that a little bit, or they'll elevate their bonus, and but it's okay. And it's that going in, and it's just part of the game they play. But we have to get to the root of that, because to negotiate for them, we really need to know what's the stop, what's the hard stop, right? What are you not going to take? What are you going to take? Because we don't want to play with our client either. We don't want to jerk them around. We want to be able to work the process to help both parties, and so it's fun though. It's a fun part of the game, but I laugh a lot.
And by the way, how does that job order thing work? Do your clients text you that, hey, we need this, we need 5 engineers, or do they just post it somewhere around the internet?
So great question. Over the years, first of all, I love recruiting. I love dealing with the candidates and helping them go through each step. I don't really get a chance to do that much in all my years. I always do the business development side. It's the hardest part of the game, because you're calling these organizations and you're saying, hey, I'm a recruiter. Don't you want to pay me to do your job? And that's not really what we're doing. Really, I believe we're collaborating with them. There's no way a VP of HR, or director of HR, or director of talent, the amount of requisitions that they have to fill on a regular basis. So no, we can't. We're not the people to fill all their positions. No, they can fill a lot of them. But there's always going to be positions that they cannot. They don't have the bandwidth to go after, because it's just a difficult and challenging search. So that's where we come in. The other thing is this: if it's a confidential search, I know I've done lots of those over the years where nobody knows anything. Maybe somebody's in that position. Maybe they're going to get removed. So it's confidential. You have to keep it very low key. So those types of positions. There's all sorts of different strategic types of things that we can do with our clients that they don't even realize. It's not just filling that gap today that you don't have time for. It's looking down the road of the next 3 to 5 years and saying, how are you positioning yourself so you have the team in 3 years from now or 2 years from now, so you have everything in place to grow your team and keep your I can't think of the word right now, John, but it'll come to me in a minute. But basically, it's strategically aligning ourselves with them to help them think ahead of the curve. Okay, so you got so and so. He or she is this age. they're going to be getting promoted and who's going to take their place. And working that out with them is a lot of fun. I remember the one time, it's happened a couple of times, I've had a client call me and say, hey, can you call so-and-so and recruit them for us, but don't tell them we asked you to do that. And, it's sad when you have to do that. But anyway, why do you want me to call? If they're not good, why should I recruit them? But no, and they may be good for somebody. They're just not a good match for this particular company. But so we do, it is not them just calling us. I think it's a misnomer. You have to go get it. It's a persistent game, and you got to keep doing it. And for me, I don't want to be annoying. I really don't. I really just want to be helpful. If you don't need me, let me know. If you're not sure, let me know. If you think you can't, that you're going to need help with a certain position, hey, let's talk about it. I'm not here to, I'm not the enemy. Sometimes they hear us calling in, and you feel like they're, oh no, not a recruiter. We're just here to collaborate. We're here to help you be successful. And we can. I asked a company. They're a startup, fairly new startup, and they've got a lot on their plate. And about 3 weeks ago, I said, what can we do for you that's outside the box of just basic talent? And she was very excited, and she said, can you help us develop a workforce transition program, because we're going to be acquiring another company, we're growing, and so that's a little bit different, and it's exciting, it's fun to be able to be strategically doing those types of things, and so we appreciate when they remember that, hey, we could do those things. That's really right up our alley.
Is there cases where a company calls you, hey Greg, we've been trying to hire somebody for this position for 3 months now. We really didn't want to call our query, but we just can't do it ourselves. Is there cases like that?
Yeah, it happens, Sean. It happens because they know you, though. Usually, it happens because they've seen you. We go to conferences. We try to do everything we can do so we're top of mind. And what ends up happening is you have to break that ground initially, and then you prove to them by the work that we do, hey, they did a great job for us. They gave us a great candidate. Call them again, and then they do. So for the first couple of years of any industry I've been in since '94, it's always grueling. It's a strain. And then after a couple of years, it's like, we've got clients now, and they are calling us. So yes, over the years at Roman, lots of calls came in because they knew me. Right now, there's not many calls coming into Primo yet, but they will. We're having fun, and we're getting to know people, and we're trying to be a little different, because we are. I am different, and we're making it fun. We're trying to show them that we really care. And hey, if you don't need me right now, that's great. But let me tell you what we can do for you. Because again, we're not just sending a resume in. We are truly trying to find out that culture fit's a huge thing, and everybody knows that these days. We were doing culture analysis and culture matching, years ago, before it was a thing, right?
Especially engineering, you need that. Especially in development, you need that, because if they're not fit for each other, they're not gonna talk.
Yeah, that's right. So it hit me a couple years ago. Yeah. Everything is changing. Everything's in it. Your garbage can opens up by itself. Everything has some type of bells and whistles that's really cool. And then I thought, but except one thing. How do we hire people? This was a few years ago, and it's changed fast, but how do we hire people? We're still asking the same goofy questions we asked in the 50s and 60s, and we're still using our gut to make a decision, and that's why our retention rates are low, and that's why employee satisfaction scores are low. It's like, wait a minute, we're smarter than this. Let's innovate this too. So and when AI came, and it makes it, oh boy, it's really been an amazing tool to help us. I mean, I'll be candid. So we take I don't want to give all my secrets away, but we take the job descriptions and pump them in, and it feeds us questions. I tell it, give us questions, and it's amazing. At a certain level, and this, that, and the other. And those questions we use in our analysis, in our tests, to ensure that the candidates we're matching for they could do the same thing, but do they have the time to do that? No, they don't always have the time. And we have the ability to run that whole side and represent them. And representing them and telling their story is what's key. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry headhunter is not going to tell their story. Hey, I've got a job.
Yeah.
Are you interested? No, I want to tell their story. I want to say, why is this place exciting? What's going on there? What's the DNA? What's the day to day? And
Yeah.
why are they doing what they do? And I love to tell stories. And so it's. I think that's what's important. That's what a good executive recruiter can do. Is we tell factual and good stories to communicate their message for them. We represent them, and then in the same way, we represent the candidate back to them to be able to ensure that they're getting a good look. But innovation, when I started recruiting, we had people on index cards in 1994. Yeah. It was a Rolodex. Think of where we are in technology. It's like it's amazing. We had a drawer full of resumes that we'd pull out.
I still use index cards today.
Okay, well, I got to tell you, I got to tell you, since we're talking about innovation too, why I don't allow paper clips in my company. Do you want to know why I don't allow paper clips anywhere around me?
Why?
So back in the 90s, my older children were young, and on Saturdays, one Saturday a month, I'd go into the office before everybody woke up, and I'd always open up that drawer of resumes, right? Because we had hard copies of everything, and I would just go through and say, "There's money in that drawer. There's money in that drawer. I know there is." And about once a month, I'd say, look at this person. So I got a search assignment with a poultry processing plant for an engineer, and I said, I know I've got somebody. I just can't recall his name. And I said, Saturday I'm coming in. I'm gonna go find that person. So I pull out all the resumes, I stick them on my desk, and I'm going through them. And I can't find it. Go through them again 3 times, 4 times. I'm like, what in the world? I know I've recruited this guy, and he's not here. So I give up, right? There's nothing I don't know what to do. 2-3 weeks later, hey, we filled the position. And I said, well, you mind me asking who you filled it with? And they told me, I'm like, that's the guy. I went right back to that drawer. And you know what it was back then? I used paper clips. And when you take a stack of paper and you do this, what does the paper clip do sometimes? It catches the paper. It catches the paper behind it. I lost back then. The fees were a lot different. Sorry, clients. I lost $15,000 because of that stupid paper clip. Because I had it. I knew who it was, and that paper clip cost me $15,000. That was my average fee back then, and it was like never again. So that day I got a stapler, pulled out all the resumes, threw the paper clips away, stapled, and now I like the binder clips actually, or staples, but I don't allow paper clips anywhere near me because it costs me money. It costs me money.
There's a lot of room for human error in that.
Yeah, so it's So you gotta make fun. You gotta enjoy it. You have to kind of laugh at it.
I've never thought about recruitment that there's gonna be. I never knew that there can be a retainer part of things. But as you said, some positions of the company they basically promote that person every 5-8 years or maybe that time frame, and they actually need to fill that in. So there is actually a retainer in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's a wonderful place to be because you're literally helping people through their careers. I've got stories after stories. I mean.
I think it's a fun industry because when you help them find the perfect job for them, it's just they call you maybe a few years later. Because of you, I'm in this job that I love every single day.
Yes, we should go to the National Infection Prevention Conference. I'm not going to name the name of the organization, but. We buy these companies in the booth. We'd have a 10x10, and the next to us on each side were like these big companies, right? And here we're just a little recruiting firm, and we'd have loads of people around us, and they'd say, "How do you get all these people?" I said, "Well, we know them because we've been placing them, and it's fun, when you see somebody, and I had literally people running across the expo floor, and. Running up to us and hugging me and my other recruiters because they know we care. That's the difference. They know we care, and we really do. I take it very personally when I used to tell. I still tell people, treat a candidate and a client as if your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your son, your daughter are going on an interview. How do you want them to be treated? Treat your candidates the same way. The experience that you want those people that are close to you, and if you do that, you're going to have people really appreciating you because it's real, it's sincere, and that's who I am. I'm 100% Italian. I'm
Yeah,
from New York, and I'm a passionate guy, like I
you
said,
know,
and I love people, and I love helping people,
yeah,
and it's fun. It's a
yeah.
lot of fun, and
Especially most of the time you're gonna be talking with one person for many times because they're just in the same
yeah,
industry. You're
yeah,
gonna need to talk with them again. You're gonna need to maybe, hey, do you want
that's
to
right.
go on this job?
Well,
You're gonna talk to them. It's
there's
really fun.
people I
Yeah,
place 4 and 5 times, not because I
yeah,
pull them out, but something
yeah,
happened or it's time to go. And this is in every industry I've worked in,
yeah,
and it's interesting. Yeah, they come back to you because they had a good experience, right? They come back to you because you did something for them that they appreciated, and so our return business, both from client and candidate,
yeah,
has always been great. So that's why I can't wait to get these wheels really running in
yeah.
aerospace. And I think there was some. I'm done with things here. No, I'm a veteran. I'm a combat veteran, and I was in the Gulf War. And for
Whoa,
me to be,
really? Oh,
yeah, this is my one of my pride and joys right there. That's the Kuwaiti Liberation Medal. Funny story on this. So when the war ended, the
yeah,
president of Kuwait said to President Bush, "Hey, we want to pay your soldiers money because they saved our country." And
yeah.
President Bush was like, "No, the American military, we are not mercenaries." And I raised, "Yes, I'll be a mercenary, sir. I'll be a mercenary. Give me the money." I was not there, of course, but it's kind of like, yeah, it was a great time. But so he gave us the Kuwaiti Liberation Medal. It's actually it's kind of cool. That's real gold in there,
Yeah,
and
24 carats. Yeah,
it's a wonderful thing that they did for us, and as a something to remember,
yeah,
that because there were innocent people, innocent women and children
yeah.
being tortured, and it was really good to go in and stop that. And I never stepped foot in Kuwait. My unit, 24th Infantry Division, went right into Iraq and surrounded the Republican Guard, and we just did what we had to do. So,
Did you get to shoot somebody?
did I get to? You said?
Yeah.
Oh, you said?
Did you get to
It's
shoot
funny.
somebody?
So I was a mechanized infantry, and so we were in a Bradley. Well, I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull it off the wall, but a Bradley infantry fighting vehicle. Now, my wife, she called this a tank the other day. It's not a tank. I don't know if you can see it. Can you
It's
see
an
that?
amphibian. I think
That's
that's an amphibian
There you
assault
go. It's got a missile coming out of it. Now back then, that picture is actually incorrect for that year, because
Yeah.
back then the Bradley had to be stationary for that missile, the tow missile, to launch. Now
Oh,
it can be moving. Now you can be moving and fire that tow. But we've got stuff over there that we gathered, and of course the American, well, that star.
yeah.
Everybody at the Fort Stewart, where it was, whoever was back home, they put those in the windows of, hey, my spouse, my significant other is off to war. Now it also brings a lot of weird people to your house trying to con you because they know
Yeah.
your spouse is off to war. But yeah, it was a time in my life that I look back on, and I'm thankful I experienced it.
Yeah.
You don't want to go through that again, but to be able to do that, and now working in this industry, being able to
Yeah.
support it in this way, for me, it means a lot, because
Yeah.
I'm a patriotic guy. I love our country, and I love the freedom we have, and I want to help
Yeah.
whatever I can do to help maintain it. I remember when everybody was going over to volunteer in Ukraine. I looked at my
Yeah.
wife and said, "Can I go?" She goes, "No, you're an old man. You're an old man. You wouldn't make it a day. You'll be broken down." I'm like, come on, you know. But just to get the juices flying again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pleasure to serve,
Yeah.
and yeah, some
You know,
fond
one of
memories.
my most favorite games of all time is Battlefield 5. I don't know if you know that game. It's
No,
one
I
of the
don't.
it's one of the most perfect game if you want to go back in the World War II era.
Okay.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's so realistic. It's not gonna be as realistic at the real stuff, but it's amazing stuff. I got addicted to
Battlefield.
it for
Yeah,
too much.
I'm not
Yeah,
much of a game player, because I
yeah,
just I'm not a game player. I wish I slowed down and played
Yeah.
games, I guess. But Battlefield 5. Now, I am a baseball fan, and I don't know if you're a baseball fan,
I'm
but
not yet.
being that I'm from New York, it's either the Mets or the
Yeah.
Yankees, John, and I'm a Mets fan. I grew up a Mets fan. I tell people I was born cursed. I'm
Yeah.
a Mets fan and I'm a Jets fan. I bleed blue and orange. I can't help it. But they just signed Juan Soto for $675 million 10-year contract. He was a
Oh,
Yankee last year, so the
yeah.
Mets snagged him. But you've got Steve
Yeah.
Cohen worth $22 billion, I think. So that's a couple bucks in the basket. He's a fun owner because he just wants to win, and it doesn't really matter. And so anyway, Juan Soto's a Met, and it's like, hey, we got a little life here. Maybe we're not cursed anymore.
Man, that's scary to sign someone for 10 years. Don't know if they're gonna be injured or
Well,
something.
you and I know that on year 7, 8, 9, he may be broken down, but it doesn't matter because how many T-shirts and they sold with his name on it.
Yeah.
They'll make lots of money. They'll make money, and they overspend.
Yeah.
I think, right, in professional sports, overspend and overcommit in order to get him. So that's what you got to do.
No. Also, by the way, you said that you check up on people that you've placed in different jobs. You check up on them. Why do you do that, and how often do you do that?
Yeah, because it's a relationship. You want to know hey, did your husband or did your wife get the job they were going for? What can we do to help? How are your children acclimating? We had a woman out in California, replaced her with Kaiser Permanente. I'll say that hospital name with that. And she said, the only way my daughter's going to let us move on this. I think it was 12 or 13. She said, she's negotiated for a dog. She negotiated for a dog. And we were laughing because she heard you negotiate with us every night for 3 weeks. So we bought the daughter the dog. We said, can we buy the dog for her? Can we do that as a company? And what fun that was to be able to send that as a present. So, I mean, it's what was the question? I just went off on the story, and I can't remember where you were taking me, John. But
the question was, how often do you check up on the people that you've placed, and why do you do that?
Yeah, you get to know them at such a personal level. I mean, I placed a gentleman at Clorox Company in 1999, and he stayed with them for 21 years, and now he's back at MIT as the head of the innovation and engineering school. It's like, you see these people do these things, and you remember prepping them. You remember telling them to use behavioral based. Tell your stories. Use that situation, that the task, the action, the result. Tell your stories, and you remember debriefing. You remember giving them the offer, and the excitement. You also remember the ones that don't get the offers, and that's I hate telling somebody bad news. I don't like that at all. It's the worst part of the job.
I think the great part of that is after maybe you've called them maybe 5 or 10 years in the future, and you can just say, I was right on placing you on that company. That's a good feeling, man.
Yes. Yeah. But it's again, it's fun to watch people grow. It's a challenge with them, and it's a wonderful industry. It's a wonderful thing to do to be.
How are you coming along in the aerospace industry? Are you getting traction now?
Yeah, and a lot of that was my own fault early in the going. Had some health issues and really came out of the gate slower than I've ever come out before. So it was a focus thing. But we've got a vision now. We've got a target. We feel good, and it's all about. And we're small. We really trimmed down. There's positions, there's things that we do, and I still do, that would take somebody 2 or 3 hours to do. We could do that in 30 seconds now, right? So we've been able to eliminate people in a sense, but what I can do now, I can be more picky on who I choose, right? So we have a small, lean team. I've got one gentleman, I've known him for about 25 years. He lives in Brazil. He's a great guy. He's from America and moved to Brazil about 11 years ago. He's got a young family. He's a great guy. And we it's like iron sharpens iron. So it's been a lot of fun working with him, with William, and using his skills. And we're looking at creative ways
Yeah.
to have human capital, and we have
Yeah.
some very creative ways, because everything in recruitment is compartmentalized.
Yeah.
And back in 1994, one person can run a whole recruiting specialty desk. Now it takes 5 or 6 people because there's this and that. So there's a
Yeah.
lot to do. So we're spread a little thin right now. So I probably brought it down a little too low. I'm probably going to try to hire somebody after the first of the year,
Yeah.
or probably will, because we need a little bit more support,
Yeah.
and that's going to help us. Like I'll be honest, our website right now is not good. It was kind of a funny story. We had one going along pretty well.
I think I saw the bottom part of your website. I think
It's
there's
terrible.
distant
Give us
testimonials.
about a
Yeah.
month or two. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll pick on William. Jordan, who was with our company, she's great, and she had it looking pretty nice, and it wasn't everything I wanted yet, but it was really nice. And when then Bill got on there one night, and the next day he's like, "Hey, Greg, I broke the site. It's gone." I'm like, "What? What do you mean it's gone?" He killed it. So, and we've not had the time to say, "Okay, let's breathe." So he and I are about 2 hours a week right now. We're just saying,
Yeah.
this is website, and
Yeah.
let's get that thing fixed. So and actually, I'm hopefully hiring tomorrow an apprentice. That's my goal, is to hire an apprentice who knows WordPress and get that
Yeah.
baby going quickly. So hopefully in the next few weeks. But yeah, it's an embarrassment right now. Sorry, everybody. It's not representative of who I am. It's not of the highest quality, but no, it doesn't look good at all, John. You're too kind. It really doesn't look good.
There's a lot of companies who's been in any other industry for a while, and their website sucks. But you
Yeah.
have a decent website. That's still okay.
Well,
But yeah.
the nice thing is we have a lot of stories, we have a lot of history, and we have a lot of things that we've done that's
Oh, yeah.
okay. So that's really what it's about. So we didn't have time to do the website because we're busy really working with people. But we're on it now, and we got to get it clear. But we're getting traction.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's been fun, and it's been very exciting. And encouraging, and we've got a few really cool things right now that's going on, and I just so I can't talk about them just because of the things that those companies, I've got a non-disclosure with them, so they've got things going on that's fun, and it's cool. It's just a lot of cool stuff. I'm really pleased to be part of that and helping people.
By the way, when you're trying to find somebody, maybe an engineer, how do you typically find those people? Because as you said, when you try to fill in a job, you typically find 50, then you sort them out with 10, 3, all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was recruiting engineers and scientists in the chemical industry, consumer packaged good chemical, I would go to the patent list. I would go to the United States patent list and say, okay, who has formulated something just like this? Like the Clorox company wanted me to do a wax brand or a bug thing, whatever. Colgate Palmolive, something else. So, and it's like you go into the patent site and say, who's done this before? And so it kind of made it fun. I do my research at night. I go to my researcher the next day. Hey, here's the people that get on my calendar. Like a stack of. So but now it's a lot different because it's so innovative. Nobody's done the things that we're doing, right? Nobody's been. They have some of the skills, obviously, and the engineering know-how, but it's so innovative and so much going on, and it's moving so fast. So what we do is we're just building relationships, and frankly speaking, LinkedIn's a great tool. It's not a bad tool, and it's about getting people and just speaking with them, and again, I was doing that. I was doing the business development, and then William now is doing a great job at the recruiting. So we've said, okay, you recruit. When you have somebody for the positions, then you'll get them to me. Then I don't need to spend near as much time, but I just want to get to know them so I can present them. And then we've got some other people doing other things, but it's really just coming up with a process. And I'm a process-oriented guy, and it's a system to make sure we're not. I would say a few of the conversations we've had in the earlier days, we may have wasted some of our candidates' time because we were trying to figure out a process, and we have all new technology. We literally just flipped the company, whole infrastructure. Everything's brand new. We've got state-of-the-art technology. We've got some really good stuff that we're using, and all this stuff has to integrate together, right? Well,
Yeah.
I'm 61 years old, John. I mean, I do pretty well hanging on, but it's moving fast. So I have to spend a little extra
Yeah.
time. Okay, well, one of the reasons I've got so many windows open on
Yeah.
my computer is just like if I don't stay energetic, they'll
Yeah.
overtake me. My wife's like, "Aren't you finished?" No, I got 100 windows. There are way too many windows. I got to get these closed and email,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of
You know,
moving parts, but it's fun.
medical advancements is so amazing. People, used to live just 6 years old, for 7 years old. People are gonna live to hundreds now,
Yeah,
and
I mean, right?
years at the
Yeah,
minimum.
but how come I'm on the? I'm not going to make that. I'm not going to be in the hundreds.
Who knows?
Who
Maybe
knows?
there's
Maybe, maybe. Yeah, but and the other thing is, everything is changing fast, but
yeah,
everything's got really expensive too. We had a little hail damage on our roof in our new house, 6 years old,
yeah.
and they come in to give us a price for a roof. Oh, 250,000. Like what? A couple of like 200,000 or
Whoa.
110,000 for a roof.
For
So
a roof. That's a house
yeah.
before.
It's like golly, So I mean, we've gotten to something reasonable now, and but the insurance company, they give you like 12,000. I think that's not going to cover the roof. These prices have gone sky high, but everything's innovative, everything's revolutionized, everything's so much better than what it was. Like, hey, this roof is going to last 100 years, and my wife's like, who cares? I'm not going to be around in 100 years. Give me one that lasts 30. We'll be happy. We don't need the 100-year roof.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
Going back to this topic, if you're a company and you want to work with a recruiting firm, how do you make sure that recruiting firm actually do their due diligence and not just, hey, here's a resume, here's a people for you, here's a employee for you? What do you make sure?
It's interesting. Some people on that side want that.
Yeah.
We had a hospital,
Really?
their nurse recruiter. She thought she was in competition with us. We were just trying to collaborate with her. And, well, I guess we were in competition. I guess we won because my candidate got the job. But it didn't have to be competition. It's like, wait, let's just work together. She would withhold information from us. She would not do. I mean, it was like really, because that's the way she played. So. What? Oh my goodness! Question again. Shoot it at me. I went off on it again.
Yeah. So if you're a company, how do you make sure that the recruiting firm that you get actually does their due diligence?
There are certain standards. I don't know where my mouse went. So I got a few of these down here. Let's see if I can find. There are ways to make sure you are. I lost you, but that's okay. There are ways to make sure that the recruiting firm is doing what you want them to do. I don't know where my notes are, but I'll have to talk through it. But it's all good. So, there are specific, core competencies that you want a recruiting firm to perform for you, right? Yeah. There's a certain amount of I had notes for this because it was a topic I wanted to talk about, and I just wanted to make sure. I have no idea where anything went. You got me. It's they're all over the place. So basically, you've got processes that you want to make sure your workforce, you have a team that you want to ensure that you are on. When you hire somebody, you want to onboard them with precision. You want to onboard them with a way that is going to make them feel welcome and they're and you don't want to get them into your culture. Then when they're there, you want to make sure you have a plan for them to grow, right? So you got all these things that has to do with the workforce. Well, what does that do with the recruiter? Well, if that recruiter doesn't know what their candidate has done and what they want to do, then how do you know that you've done their due diligence to fit in? Well, so that's the kind of stuff you should be listening for. But even more importantly, hey, we're going to give you some skills. Give me an example. Have they done the skill? How many years have they done it? Yeah. And give me an outcome. It's really not that hard. What's an outcome? What's an accomplishment of doing X, Y, and Z skill? And then again, so if you're sending over 10 resumes within 3 hours of a job board opening up, they've probably not done their due
Yeah.
diligence.
Is there, yeah.
Again, we've got we've got a process. I tell them I'm not going to give you near as many resumes as another recruiter. I'm going to take about
Yeah.
a week, 1 or 2 days around the next week, and we'll be ready to present 3 or 4 candidates because we believe that they are the best ones for the
Yeah.
position based on what you've told us.
Yeah.
Based on what you've told us. So,
Is it often that one person goes to many different recruiting firms at the same time?
no, some do.
Yeah.
In fact, I talked to a company the other day. They said, no, we want to see competition. We're going to hire 3.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that meant competition on every job or, okay, you've got these 3 engineers, you got these 3 engineering positions, you got those 3. Let's see who does a better job.
Yeah.
I mean, I prefer that than 3 of us working on the same job because, again, I don't think that's the best process. That comes with education. You have to educate the folks on the other end. We educate candidates on how to interview. Your clients need to understand how to interview and how to hire. And just because we're a leader doesn't mean we know how to do that, right? I mean, I was not a good I'm an executive recruiter for years, but it didn't mean I hired well, right? Because we all think we know how to do it, and then when it's for ourselves, we don't do it well. So one thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing these little sound bites that we're going to throw on LinkedIn and everything, where I'm going to be giving like little coaching lessons, like, hey, when you have a candidate pool, what's the way to handle that? What's the way to streamline? What's the way to communicate to them? Because again, the number one horror story is I never heard anything. I don't know why I didn't get the job. Yeah. That's not fair to a person. When a person interviews, they should hear some constructive feedback because it helps them, right? And I tell my clients, if you don't give me constructive, it's like the world has to help each other. You give me the constructive feedback of what they didn't do, and then we're able to help that candidate with another client because now they are good for somebody. Yeah. But if you don't tell me, then how can I help them, right? And it's just you have to give back a little bit. And
you actually talk to the other candidates if they didn't get picked. You actually still help them.
I try to help them still. Yes.
There's other companies that doesn't do that. They just don't care.
No, we've had a candidate. I remember years ago. We had a guy that worked for me. His name was Dan. He's a great guy. He was a clinical psychologist for 25 years, and he came work for me, and so he knew how to read people and analyze and help. And we had this one candidate, interview after interview after interview. Like, what is she doing? And we found out she had a little. So I said, Dan, can you speak with her? Just try to see if you can figure something out. And she had PTSD and she didn't know it and nobody knew it. And so when she would go into the interview, she would do some things that were out of the ordinary and she wasn't getting the job. But we were able to help her overcome that because just by encouraging her and just by giving her some really simple things to go in there and relax and breathe. So, when you can do things like that and you see somebody get a job because they weren't getting it, it's so rewarding. It makes it worth the effort. Yeah, because it's a stressful job, stressful career. But when you see people, I remember another thing Dan did. Well, are you still there? We lost you, John.
Let me just fix that.
What's that?
Let me fix it. Yeah. Can you hear me? Oh man, my other camera is not turning on. I don't know why.
Well, we've got me, ladies and gentlemen. So let me have John Paul Flores here with me.
I saw that you have 6 guiding principles at the Primo Group. Correct me if I'm wrong. What are those?
You put me on the spot right now because I have that. Yeah. So let me try to pull them out of my ear. Number 1 is integrity. We value having integrity. There's never a reason to mislead somebody. I would never lie to a candidate or a client just to close a deal. I couldn't sleep at night if I did that. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I sleep well most nights. Not last night, but most nights. So I remember back in the poultry days, I had a candidate. His name is Cecil, and he was going to be interviewing for a refrigeration engineer position, and he was interviewing in Alabama. And the night before the on-site interview, he calls me. And he goes, "Hey, Greg, I just got to tell you, I'm not sitting right with this. I got something in my background." I'm like, "Oh, what's up, Cecil?" And what it was when he was in high school, somebody put a computer in his car. It was stolen. He got in trouble for it. He didn't really do anything wrong, but he had a record for a stolen computer in his car. And I'm like, "Cecil, that's I think you're going to be okay. But let me call the hiring manager. His name is Paul. I'll always remember him.
Yeah.
And I called Paul. Back then, we had home numbers. We didn't have cell phones. I called Paul. Hey, Paul, he's just at the hotel. He's excited. But he wanted me to let you know something tonight. He wanted me to let you know that from 15 years ago when he was a kid in high school, he's got the, and I told him the story. He's like, wait a minute. Cecil wanted me to know that tonight? I'm like, yeah. Because that's the kind of guy I want on my team. That's the kind of guy that he's upfront, he's honest, he's not afraid to hide it. That's the kind of person that we want. Well, and I think that's the guiding principle is integrity. If you're working with my company, and it's not a sales pitch, but if you're working with us, are we going to make mistakes? You're darn right we're going to make mistakes. We do make mistakes, but I'm going to own it, and I'm going to fix it to the best of my ability. But integrity is one of them. Secondly, again, I don't know where you came up with the sixth, but anyway, don't. But we value people. Every person is valuable. Every person is valuable. Even if they can't get a job, they're valuable. They have something to offer society, and I believe that if we can encourage those people and give them some of the tools to make them better, boy, it's amazing with those, what happens then. So I believe in people. My wife was always getting on my case because I've fired people that have worked for me. But I always hire back. I've fired some people I've hired back 4 or 5 times. She's like, when are you going to win? Like, well, but I think he's going to get it this time. But, that's probably not. But I care for people. I want to help them. So integrity and we value people. We work really hard, and we don't give up. I don't know what word, persistence or whatever. Again, going back to my father's teaching, I love this story. Cape Cod Hospital up in Massachusetts had needed an infection prevention. When I got the job order many years ago, it had been open for about a year. I'd given up. It took me a year to fill it. So it was 2 years. It took me a year, but I didn't give up. I'm never going to give up. I'm going to stick with it. If they give us a chance, we're going to stick with it, and we're going to get it. Have we gotten everyone over the? No, we've not gotten everyone, but we are not going to give up until they say it's time to give up, right? But we will stick with it and never, just because again, we know that if we commit something to somebody, I'm not going to then go and hide. I need to own up to it. I need to make sure that we are accountable. So accountability is another one of my values. And I have a plan. I love this. Retainers. The horror story of retainers, John, is we paid you money, and then you never presented us any candidates. I don't do that. When we do a retainer, it's a pay for performance. When I present candidates, let me present. You tell me what the benchmark is. You want 4? We'll give 4. You want 2? You want 5? That's the benchmark. And when I do that, that's when we get our first payment. Second payment, when we get so many to the on-site, because that this is coming to a close. I don't take people's money and run. I think it's unethical. I think it's wrong. So this being ethical and So we, I gotta go. I got an event tonight, and I realized we had said that we weren't going to have you can cut this part, but you weren't going to have a hard stop, which is good. I like that. But now we've got about an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, man.
Did you know that? You're having so much fun. We can pick it up tomorrow. We'll finish it up and then cut and paste. But I'd like to finish the answer if you could. But I just my son has an event tonight, and I got to be there for my son.
Absolutely.
And it's about 20 minutes away, and it starts at 5:30, John.
I just want to thank you, Greg, for being on the podcast.
John, you're great. You're fun. I appreciate you, and let me know what else. Let me know what you need from me, and we'll do whatever you need.
I just ended the recording. It's amazing. Man, I wanted to continue it for a very long time.
Yeah, it was funny because you said, "No, absolutely hard stop." Like, oh, what a bummer! And I was watching the clock, and I'm like, I don't know if he realizes how late we've gone. But now I appreciate it.
I thought you didn't. That's all for today's episode of the New World Podcast. We have explored some fascinating topics with our amazing guests, shedding light on the upcoming new world. If you enjoyed today's episode and today's discussion and want to stay updated on the future episodes, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, to the podcast. And if you found value on what we have discussed, please consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Remember, if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, or if you are interested in being a guest in the future, please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn or email me at john.paul@aicinix.com and add New World Podcast, all capital, in the subject line so I can see it. I always love hearing from our listeners. And don't forget to check out our amazing guests. You can find more information about them by the contact details we provided earlier. Again, thank you for tuning in on the New World Podcast. I know your time is very important and I try to always make the next episode better than the last. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep innovating. This is John Paul Flores signing off from the New World Podcast.